Hi everyone, this is Jed Shlackman. I'm a holistic counselor as well as an energy healer. For this video I'll be speaking about the topic of bone health. Bone health is something that many people are concerned about, particularly as they get older, as the body's ability to maintain bone strength and integrity may diminish. But that doesn't have to be the case as you get older. And there are also factors that can trigger bone health issues in younger people. So it could be someone of any age who's confronted with concerns about their bone health. Our bones are really kind of the core foundation for our physical body. They provide the structure, the strength, the framework for our body to form around. I'm going to present a holistic approach to supporting your bone health. So this addresses things on a physical or physiological level, as well as an energetic and an emotional, mental, and spiritual level, since what's happening in our physical body is really being fueled or governed by what's happening with our consciousness and our energy. So on the physical level, people often hear about specific elements and nutrients that are important for bone health. So of course, calcium is an element that makes up a lot of bone material. But the reality is most people are getting plenty of calcium in the food that they're consuming. The question is, how is their body absorbing things and metabolizing things? Is that calcium being used to construct and maintain bone? Or is it getting flushed out of your body? Is it getting deposited in places where you wouldn't want it, like forming kidney stones or deposits in your cardiovascular system? So how is that calcium being used? If there are issues with how the calcium is being metabolized, you're not going to solve bone issues with taking calcium supplements. So we want to consider things like vitamin D, D3 in particular, vitamin K2, also magnesium and boron and phosphorus. So we have other elements that are important, vitamins and elements that work synergistically for our body as our body maintains its bone structure. Your bones are not something that are just made and then stagnant. Your body's continuing to break down and reform bone just as it does with other tissues. So the bone cells are, in a sense, breaking down and dying and being replaced, just as cells for other parts, other organs and tissues of the body are. We tend to think of bone as something solid, but in a sense it's fluid. We're continuing to reform, remodel our bone. You'll see that your physical shape can change some over the course of your life. Your bones are not always going to be exactly the same as they were when you were a younger age. If you have an injury, if you have some type of crack in a bone, the bone is going to repair itself because it is alive, it's tissue, just like any other tissue in your body, it's repairing itself. Bone is just kind of deeper within, so in a sense it's a more critical or vital tissue, and if that is injured, it takes somewhat longer to repair, to remodel the bone than more of the external tissues in your body, your skin or your muscle. So bone is something that we do want to really protect and support. So having good nutrition is important. Many people now are taking vitamin D3 as a supplement and having the impression that that's really important for bone health, that the D3 helps your body absorb and use calcium to form bones. However, you'll also need vitamin K2 in adequate amounts in your body. Otherwise, you're now absorbing and using all this calcium, but for it to be actually used in the bone, in the teeth, in places where it's truly needed, you'll need vitamin K2. Without the K2, you could end up with calcium deposits happening in unintended or undesirable places. You could have calcifications occur in different areas of the body if there's insufficient K2. And magnesium is also vital. Magnesium is important for many metabolic processes in the body. It needs to be in a balanced ratio with calcium. So if that ratio goes off too much, then you might have a lot of calcium that your body isn't actually able to use properly. So make sure you're getting sufficient magnesium as well. And boron is another element that's well documented to be important for your bone health. You can get boron in supplements. Certain types of foods would have a good amount of boron. So those are some of the major nutrients. And then of course, just in general, having a healthy diet, getting enough vitamins is important. You want vitamin C for many different processes in your body. And of course, vitamin C is present in many different fruits and vegetables. But if you're eating a diet that's more of an animal food oriented diet, some of the people that are doing keto diets or carnivore type diets, they may be getting deficient in vitamin C. Even people on more plant-based diets might still be getting low in vitamin C if they have a lot of stresses and their body's using it up quickly. So a buffer type vitamin C is a useful supplement. You don't want it usually in the pure ascorbic acid form, because the acid can be problematic, especially if your gut isn't handling things well. So sodium ascorbate, something like that, or calcium ascorbate, to get it buffered where it's not acidic, where you can digest that better. And of course, with bone issues, the bone minerals are alkaline, and if your body's building up an excess of acidity, what could happen is your body takes the minerals out of the bones to buffer that acidity, to protect itself, so that your tissues, your blood aren't becoming too acidic. But as a consequence of that, your mineral reserves from the bones are getting taken, and you could start to experience bone loss, loss of density in your bones, what medical terminology would call osteopenia or osteoporosis, where your bones are becoming less dense and more fragile. So if you want to keep your bones healthy, you want to keep the pH balance in your body at kind of an equilibrium. We don't want excess acidity or excess alkalinity. Everything is really about balance. And with the bones, because they are composed of these minerals, which are alkaline minerals, then any issue with excess acidity could have a negative impact on your bone health. Now, different people have different states of functioning of their digestive system. So you would be conscious or mindful of the foods you're consuming, how your body's processing them. And if you're on a, let's say, plant-based diet, that's a more alkaline diet often, especially if you're avoiding the processed foods, the concentrated processed sugars and oils. So in that case, it's possible to become too alkaline, but it's also possible to become too acidic, especially if you're eating a diet that has less of the plant-based foods and more of the animal-based foods, or even a high grain diet. Those foods tend to create more acidity in the body, and if your body, especially the digestive system, isn't able to process that well, then it could build up in your tissues, in your blood, and ultimately affecting your bones, where you'll deplete the minerals. Now, another vital aspect of bone health is our energy flow. Doing physical exercise gets our energy flowing through our whole body, through all of our tissues, and in a sense the bone is the deepest of our tissues, the densest and deepest. So to really get the energy fully flowing through the bone, you would want to do some pretty solid types of exercise. Both aerobic exercise is useful and anaerobic or resistance type exercise. So you want to get that electricity, that energy moving through your whole body to the deepest level, and exercise is important for that. One way that significance is observed is when people are astronauts going into space. If they're up there too long, let's say someone's on the space station for months at a time, and they're not subjected to the pressure or gravity of the Earth environment, so there isn't that resistance happening to cause the bones to maintain themselves, they start to show symptoms of bone loss. So they would take some steps to try to counteract that. And one form of counteracting it would be to do some type of physical exercise to get some type of pressure occurring with your body and stimulating the energy flow. You could call it your chi or life force also, going more potently into the bone to stimulate the regeneration, the continual maintenance of that tissue. So electrical stimulation could be a method. So you could use a TENS unit, the electromagnetic pulses, that electrical energy pulsing through your body. You can do some type of vibration like a massage. So physical massage would be helpful, but also a vibration type massage using a massage gun, using a vibration plate, those exercise plates that cause your whole body to vibrate, which causes you to use your muscles, but it's not only the muscles that are being stimulated, it's also the bone. Those pulse waves are going into the bone tissue in that context, and that stimulates the bone to continue to regenerate, to maintain its strength, its vitality. Now we can go to the psychological level and understand that every part of our body in some way is a reflection of or symbolic of issues in our psyche, in our consciousness. So if you think about the bone and the skeleton, that's kind of like your strength, your foundation, feeling strong within yourself, having a solid and stable identity, a strong sense of yourself. So if you're someone who has kind of this weak identity, someone who's easily influenced by others, someone who you think of as kind of like a pushover, where they don't stand up for themselves, that can end up being reflected at the physical level with weakness developing in the bones. So you want to maintain that sense of yourself as having power, of strength and integrity, of having confidence in yourself, and combining that with the methods to stimulate energy flow and to maintain healthy nourishment, getting enough of the nutrition that's important for bone maintenance. All of that is very important. Also our endocrine health. So our hormones are important in regulating all the different processes in our body. So if certain hormones are out of balance or deficient, that could affect bone maintenance. Some of the medical treatments for osteoporosis and osteopenia involve hormone type therapies. But if you're having external foreign hormones supplemented or injected into your body, there are potential adverse side effects from doing that. It's not something you're working on from within. You're not enabling the body to maintain its own hormone balance. You're not addressing what might be upsetting the body's internal balancing of hormones. So it's vital to look at these other factors, the nutrition and diet, to look at your exercise, energy stimulation, looking at the psychological and emotional issues that might underlie how your bones are being maintained. So I would encourage everyone to consider all of these aspects, to not just solely rely on some of the medical treatments that are used. Some of them are kind of like compensating for an issue, or putting a cover over to hide what's actually causing the problem, and it may only work temporarily, or it may cause some other issue as a consequence of the treatment. So if you can address things in a more holistic way to get to more of the root causes, you could say, of whatever is creating an imbalance or breakdown in the body, then you have a better prospect or prognosis for resolving things for the long term. I hope that this talk here about bone health has given you some insight or ideas, some additional understanding of how to support your health. For those that are interested in holistic health and wellness, I invite you to visit my website, phinsights.com. That's spelled PHINSIGHTS.com. You'll find other links and references there, as well as information about holistic counseling and healing services that I provide. For now, I wish everyone a wonderful day. Namaste.